What's up, heathens? How ya doing? Tonight we have a bunch of TikTok Christians that think that they can disprove atheism or disprove evolution or just in general, I guess, maybe support their faith. I don't know. We're going to get into it. So I hope that you're interested in dumb arguments. If you are, then please stay tuned.
Story time. So I know this kid, he's from Africa, and he told me a story about one of his best friends who committed themselves to believing in Satan and to be a soldier in Satan's army.
I mean, if there's any Satanists out there in the comments right now, let me know. Do you consider yourself a soldier in Satan's army? I don't know. That sounds like a gang more than like actual Satanism. What I know of actual Satanism is that they're basically atheists. They don't believe in the deity of Satan. They follow the tenets of Satanism. So I don't know.
This is in Africa. Basically, he was with his friend, and his friend said, look, I sold my soul to the devil. I wanted power. I wanted demonic power. And then I want to prove to you that the devil is real.
Okay, well, I would definitely have to say that that particular person's a dipshit, and you probably shouldn't be listening to him. But in any case, I know that Christians believe in the devil, so I'm guessing that you're eating this up as a real thing that happened.
So he said, here, take this knife and cut my arm with it as deep as you can. My friend was like, I don't want to do this, but okay.
No, you don't. If someone's like, go on ahead, take this knife, cut me as deep as you can. Nobody should be like, oh, okay, I'll fucking cut you. This is how you end up calling 911, being like, we were trying to blood sacrifice my friend here, and he died. And it's like, what the fuck are you thinking?
And he took a knife and he said that he cut his friend's arm so deep that the knife sliced straight through the bone, like right into the bone, and like got stuck. And then he said he pulled the knife away and the skin immediately healed.
See, bullshit. I fucking knew it. It was fucking bullshit. Anytime you hear some crazy shit like that, it's bullshit. So, already, bullshit. His wound immediately healed. That's how we know that it's a bullshit story if you already weren't clued into the fact that it's a bullshit story.
And his buddy said, that's because I sold my soul to the devil.
No, it is not because you sold your soul. I can't even say that without laughing.
And my friend said, well, I guess Jesus exists.
How does that, like, just because, like, even if the devil were to exist, how does that immediately mean that Jesus exists? There are multiple different devils that exist in other cultures and in other religions. So just because somebody supposedly sold their soul to the devil and now he can immediately heal like he's fucking Wolverine does not necessarily mean that Jesus is real. That is a non sequitur. That means you're jumping from one statement to a conclusion without any supporting evidence beneath it. All right, who's this dipshit?
They will say in their religion that God does not exist.
Nope, atheists do not say that God does not exist, at least in a general sense that you're trying to make it out to be. Atheists come in many different flavors. What you're talking about are more Gnostic atheists or hard atheists. Those would be the ones that say that God does not exist, or God or gods do not and cannot exist. I think that that's about as defensible as saying that God 100% exists. For the most part, you would be good in saying that atheists do not believe in a God. That's just, they don't see any evidence to believe in a God, so they just don't believe that one exists. There's a nuance there that exists that you have to recognize, but he doesn't want to recognize it.
They will say in their religion that God did not create life.
Well, true. God did not create life. I think that's I can agree with that. I'll give you that one. I, as an atheist, because I don't believe in a God, I would say that God did not create anything.
They will say in their religion that there's no such thing as a God.
No, we don't say that there's no such thing as a God. Well, there are definitely concepts of a God, and there's a particular atheist position, a Gnostic, agnostic atheist, that would say that a God could exist. So I disagree with that. I also disagree with the idea that atheism is a religion. We don't match up with any kind of definition of what a religion is, and if you boil down the definition of a religion to mean just about any fucking thing, then it becomes a pointless term.
Check this out. And a Christian would say, which is me, hey, this guy right here, wouldn't you think that for something to create life, you would have to be some type of god?
Okay. Well, I mean, I would say that there are women out there that, in the course of having sex, procreating, they would in turn create life in that kind of way. You could say that they create life. So, yeah, I mean, would that make women gods because of that? Like, I don't know. No?
Yes.
Oh, it does? Casey says it definitely makes them gods. They are all gods. Oh, hell, the VJJ.
What they don't understand is God can create life. But what they do understand is that a rock created life.
No. No. You're conflating atheism with evolution and abiogenesis is what he's doing here, specifically abiogenesis at this point. But no, atheists don't say that. In fact, the atheism just applies to whether or not you believe in a god. That's all that it applies to. Atheists do not say what you just said, but more importantly, atheism does not come anywhere near to touching on that subject.
So we say God created life. They say a rock created life.
No, we don't say that rock created life. That's just a dipshit thing to say.
What they want to hear is, boom, the Big Bang just happened.
No, that's not actually what we say. We don't say, boom, the Big Bang just happened. We actually try to figure out why the Big Bang occurred on all the mechanisms, around that. So,
and it made lava, molten lava that got super hot. And then out of nowhere, rain was created, and it rained on this rock for a long time. Enough time to have an excuse for it. Then life formed. If God did it, then you have to admit that God created everything, God made all the rules, and God's in control.
If God's in control, he's doing a shitty fucking job, that's for sure. Also, that's not how abiogenesis happened. Like, yes, life started out in the water. It's not like rain fell on a rock and then all of a sudden an amoeba popped out of the rock like you're trying to make it out to be. For one thing, you're still saying that atheism is a religion. It's not, but you're also conflating atheism with evolution. Those are two different topics entirely. But everything that you just said here about the Big Bang, the Earth, the molten rock, and rain didn't just magically appear. It's part of the fucking water cycle, you dipshit. Did you not even pay attention in like basic science class? Casey said no.
So the same way that you would go to a car wash to get your car clean, well, that's the same way you need to go to God to get your sins clean, because the truth of the matter is he's the only one who can wash away your sins.
I don't know about that, because other people have different ways of washing away their sins. Other cultures have ideas that are similar to sin, but also you have failed to prove that we have sin in general. What is sin to you? I would love for you to define what sin is, because as far as I can tell, sin is just breaking the rules set forth in the Bible. I don't adhere to the rules of the Bible, so therefore I cannot sin by nature. So does that make me better as far as this context goes than Christians are because I inherently can't sin? This sounds like a completely reasonable, logical argument here. Drew's Book Reviews said, or you could clean your car yourself, no God. Ah, exactly. You could do it yourself. I disagree with the whole car washing and washing it like God. For one thing, you haven't proven your God to exist. For another thing, you haven't proven that God is needed to wash these sins away. Third, you haven't even defined sin or even how that applies outside of your religion, other than the fact that you're judging other people for not following your religion.
In order to hate something, you honestly have to believe it exists.
No. This is patently false. You do not have to believe that something exists in order to hate it. I hate Voldemort as a character. He can be a dick up until I think it was the final couple of movies or the final book. He was kind of a dick the entire time. He was a good guy, but he was an asshole. He was kind of like an anti-hero type person. Anyways, no. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Snape, not Voldemort. Voldemort's always an asshole. What the fuck am I thinking? I was mixing up Snape and Voldemort. Anyways, Voldemort, I hate him in the book series of Harry Potter. He doesn't exist, but I still hate that motherfucker. You can hate things that don't exist.
Your is wrong.
If you're an atheist. I didn't even point that out earlier. Wow. Yeah, youre. Youre.
You cannot hate something that's not true, is fabricated or is fiction.
No, I can hate things that aren't true. Like anti-vaxxers, their narrative, I hate that fucking narrative. Fuck that. That's not true, and I can still hate it. I can hate fictional things. Michelle Foster, I hate Jar Jar Binks. Does that mean he's real too? That's a good fucking point there, Michelle. Fuck this guy. KC agrees. Jar Jar Binks is the worst. I guess that means that motherfucker's real somewhere.
So if you hate Jesus, that means you believe in him.
Nope. If I were to hate Jesus, which that's his entire premise, is that atheists hate Jesus. Atheists don't hate Jesus. We may hate the religion in general. We may hate people that practice the religion. We don't necessarily hate like the character Jesus in it, right? Some people out there might. Regardless of whether or not you hate Jesus, that doesn't make him real. And now we got somebody that's wanting to prove the resurrection is true in less than 60 seconds. So,
hey guys, I'm going to prove the resurrection of Jesus is true in less than 60 seconds without using the Bible.
Oh shit, without using the Bible. Holy fuck, honey, he's got us by the small and furries.
In the 1970s, a young man by the name of Gary Habermas had to do a doctoral dissertation about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and his professor told him that the one thing he couldn't use was the Bible.
Yes, we've all heard Gary Habermas's bullshit. This is textbook apologetics that don't actually support the conclusion that Jesus resurrected.
Which was obviously very challenging. And so he had to come up with some type of method that he eventually did, called the minimum facts method.
So the minimum facts argument lays out these facts that supposedly support that Jesus resurrected from the dead, but they are all either not facts, not supported by history, or just simply apologetics at their finest.
By using the minimum facts method, he was actually able to use liberal scholarship and anything that historians consider accurate evidence to show that he can get the source of the resurrection of Jesus Christ within 1 year of the event. And on top of that,
No. That's not what he does. What he does is he shows that the idea that Jesus was resurrected started from the beginning. Like the whole resurrected Messiah thing was part of that religion from the very beginning. And I'm perfectly fine admitting that from the very beginning of Christianity, everybody believed that he existed, that he rose from the dead. I'm totally fine with accepting that. Where the disconnect comes, where the non sequitur begins, is when he jumps from that particular conclusion that the belief started early to saying that means that Jesus actually resurrected from the dead.
Using the historical method, that if you compare it to any historical document that only has maybe 1 or 2 outside sources, 3 if you're lucky, that's really rare. But the resurrection has 11 outside sources.
No. The resurrection does not have 11 outside sources. So I don't know if he's going to list them right here, but before he gets into anything, the only evidence for a resurrection that we reliably have is Paul. And even Paul admits that he got his information from nobody on earth. He only hallucinated all of his information. That, or he got it from scriptures, which probably influenced his hallucinations. It's a quick shot of this, and apparently it's just like, I mean, he's got Tacitus on there. That doesn't prove that he resurrected. Marbar Serapion, he definitely doesn't prove it. Lucian doesn't prove it. I've covered all of these. The Talmud. The interesting thing, all of these Christians love to lump the Talmud in as proving that Jesus both existed and was crucified and resurrected, or whatever. But in fact, the Talmud places Jesus there. The Talmud's Jesus is actually placed under King Alexander Jannaeus, who ruled more than 100 years before Jesus supposedly died. So I don't know why they still use the Talmud. It's very confusing to me because it's well known in the scholarship that particular Jesus was actually killed and all of his followers killed under King Jannaeus in between 106 and 76 BC. All right, let's see what this dipshit has for us now.
What can I say to you? What eloquent string of words can I put together that'll finally convince you that God really is who he says he is?
All right, so what particular sentence could we put together that would convince me that God exists? Anything that has actual evidence in it. If you could provide me with actual evidence that supports your conclusion, then I will acknowledge that a God exists. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to bow down and suck that God dick, okay? That just means I'm going to acknowledge that his dick's out there ready to be sucked.
I'm not talking about a sky daddy or an imaginary friend or a wizard in the sky. I'm talking...
While I don't agree with using those necessarily in order to describe God as far as when you're talking to somebody that is religious in some kind of way, because this would include like pagans and all that, the only time that anybody would use these particular things in a conversation with somebody is to be an asshole. Not that that's necessarily unwarranted all the time. You have to admit that what you're putting out here is a very shallow view of the atheist community, because there are a lot of people out there that are perfectly fine having good conversations. I mean, I have a lot of great conversations with people, and I have never, just outright said, "Oh, you got a sky daddy there, buddy." Like, I don't know, that it just seems like a very shallow view of the atheist community.
about God Almighty.
You have to come to terms with the fact that your God does match what a wizard would be. I mean, he's an old guy. He's got a long beard. All he's missing is the hat. I'm guessing it's just up on his hat rack or something. But I mean, he did bippity boppity boop and created everything, I mean, it's going to be really hard not to convince me that he's analogous to a fucking wizard, all right?
This God who you mock, the one that gave up his son for you. So
prove he gave up his son. And number two, I didn't ask him to do that. Nobody asked him to do that. He just did it. Also, he gave up his son. He chose to do that, which was in fact himself in the flesh or something. But I mean, he could have just bippity boppity booped sin out of existence. He could have just made it go away. He created everything in this universe. He created humans. He created everything. You're telling me that this motherfucker couldn't wiggle his goddamn nose and make sin just go away?
that you can spit in his face again. This same God that paid a debt that you could never pay.
But you know what? God could pay the debt. It's a lot like somebody in the 1% who owns a lot of debt. And somebody comes to them and is like, "Hey, listen, this debt's really fucking me up right now. Is there any way you could just sort of make that go away?" And then the guy's just looking at him like, "I don't know. I mean, I have all this debt here. I own it. And I have a lot more money, so this is really just pennies to me. But shit, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna need a human blood sacrifice in order to make this shit just go away." No, you don't want to sacrifice your son? Do I have to get Billy in here to say, "Billy, bring the knife"?
See, in order to understand what has actually been done for you, you have to understand two things: who God is and who man is.
What do you want?
Huh?
What are you yelling about in here?
Oh no, I said, "Billy, bring me the knife."
Oh, I'm not Billy.
No.
Okay.
So who is God? That's a good question, because we don't know who God is. Your particular version of God obviously doesn't exist because he doesn't match up with any of the requirements in his document, aka the Bible. Who man is, man or human beings, got here a little over 200,000 years ago when they evolved from our proto-great ape ancestors. So that's who man is. Who God is for all that we can know and tell, he was just made up by somebody at one point in time, and it is just something that went off the fucking rails.
God is good. Man is evil.
Man is evil, God is good. This is the central tenet to Christianity. They have to make you think that you are an evil person just for existing. That's what their religion tells you. And that God is always good. But yet, what they won't tell you is shit like Numbers 31, 17 to 18, where God specifically commands the Israelites to go and kidnap little girls to take as sexual slaves. They won't tell you that. They won't tell you about all of the horrid things that God is perfectly fine with the Israelites doing in the Old Testament, that he even commands them to do, but yet we are the evil ones. Well, excuse me for thinking that I'm better than a fucking deity who can't think up a better solution than to kill his own fucking son.
Until you understand these things, it's never going to make any sense to you.
It's never going to make sense to me, because I think that anybody put in the position that God was as far as sin goes, with the resources that God has, meaning every single fucking resource out there, they would be able to come to a better conclusion or a better solution than killing his only son, which is in fact himself. I mean, basically, he was stabbing himself in the dick, right?
So you can play all the little games that you want to play when you bring up questions and simultaneously kill all the answers.
No, actually, that's not what we do. That's what y'all do. That's what the Christian apologists and pastors and everybody out there that makes excuses for God, we bring up questions and then you guys kill all the answers with just either shaking it off, not addressing it, or being like, you just don't want to believe. That's what happens. This is such a fucking backwards thing for you to say.
So you can talk about evidence, but he's giving you the evidence in his word, you just don't want to see it.
No, it's not that I don't want to see it. It's just that his word doesn't fucking make sense. It doesn't match anything in reality. So it's not that I don't want to believe. It's that maybe your God, who's this omniscient, all-knowing, all-powerful motherfucker, should have a better way to communicate his goddamn word. That's going to be it for their video today. If you will, please go down below and let me know what you thought. And while you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.